we'll start with a few pieces up on the board here. Background colours, I'll talk a little bit about the background colours on your bowls. That's actually a white one, but they come in a great range of colours, which is a water base poster paint. It's a great range of colours, and that's particularly a white one. Over the thousands of resin bowls I've ever done, and it's literally that, I've only ever done about 4 white ones for whatever reason, but a lot of it is black or deep blue or green, but you can see by objects put in on white, they still tend to jump out. That's a standard sort of a bowl, about 250 diameter by about 80 deep, cowrie with a white background. So the choice is yours about the coloured backgrounds, and we'll be talking about that a bit more. So I'm just going to run through here some variety of pieces that you can put into the resin. Shells, if you have a look in the lower shot here, if you go to places like the Manukau Craft Market, things like that, you can pick up shells and all different sorts of sort of pieces, aquatic things, flat shells, rounded shells. If you walk up and down the beach, you can pick them up yourself. And bits of seaweed and everything can be put into the bowl, from coffee beans, fish hooks, nuts and bolts, nails, screws, trout flies, everything. There's the colours. I've only ever done 2 yellow ones. And it just didn't do it for me at all, but you can try these various colours, try the various backgrounds. I sold the first yellow one, and then the second one went, but it didn't do it for me. So these are poured ready for finishing, just like some of these are poured ready for finishing, which we'll get to in a minute. So this is just an overview of pieces that are underway, ready for finishing. They're still on the chucks, and I have some other platters in the background there that are coming through. So they're still on the chucks, and I can rotate through, put them back onto the lathe for finishing. There's a finished one, and you can see the shine. The resin is sort of that shiny that it's quite difficult to photograph, and you get a bit of a bouncy shine coming off it. That's a cowrie bowl, 180 diameter, 120 deep, with a red resin trench with scattered power, with a bit of texturing and stuff on the outside. There's that same white one, I think, that I had on before. There's a bit of a sort of a lighter, sort of a whatever you'd call that colour, but I mixed that up out of a light green and put some white in it. So play around with the colours. Choose some colours that suit you as a background. If you put lots of items in there, you don't see much colour of the background. If you put less items in there, the background colour becomes more obvious. Red works well, black is the most popular, but other colours work well too, and you can mix up your own. I'll be talking about the resin pouring and how to go about that coming up. That's a resin pour underway there. So that's the resin pour going in a piece. The piece is levelled up. You can see that bit of sandpaper sticking out, and underneath the bottom there, the piece is actually set up level. And I'll be talking to you about that as well, with a simple spirit level to level it up, so that the resin does not all run out one side. We'll be talking about that. The mixing of the resin is quite important, using a round stick like this here in sort of containers like so. It was one of my clients there at the time, and I had to really work on him to stop him holding that and like that, because your fingers will warm up the resin. See? You mix it for 5 minutes, this resin, I'll be talking about that. But that's warming up the resin. You don't want to warm up the resin, because the hardener will do it for you. It's best to hold it by the top edge and thus sort of motion. This is levelling the piece up. You can use your longer, bigger level or a small one taped on. It's a red background with shells in, pretty standard. You can see all my little containers there with the items in. some of the options of what you can do with inlays, it starts to get a little bit more than just a trench of turning a particular trench all the way round. Here I've drilled 2 Forstner drill bit holes, interlocking, and I'm putting the sealer coat in there now ready for the base colour, and I'll put a black colour through that after the sealer. Then I'll drop a shell inside each hole, quite a big shell, and these are power inlays here, and this will be carved. So you can vary. This has been a standard type of issue of design for power inlay bolts for many years. You can vary it with router cuts across the angle, drilled holes. You can take it to a much more broad level than that. There's the red paint going in. This is water-based paint that you can get from the stationery supplies. It's very cheap. You just wash your brush up in water. It has previously had a sealer coat in there, and then 2 coats of red with a nice soft brush, and I'll show you the brush later and go at it from there. And you check your heights, of course, so that the items that you're putting in are lower than the surrounding edge. It's called a trench basically, so that you're not going to hit the items with your tool. Because I assure you, if you hit the piece of power with your tool, it takes the edge straight off it. There's a couple of pieces using the blue. On the right hand side is the blue. Now with that particular trench there, I cut out some fiddleback cowrie and out of diamond shaped timber on my bandsaw, used a cardboard pattern and cut them out on the bandsaw and sanded them to size and set them into the paint, and then the fiddleback cowrie is higher than the surface of the resin, so when the edge is turned down flat, you can touch that bit of wood there, so it's not completely covered by resin. This is quite a thick wall bowl, about 250 by 180, and thick wall with a reverse curve in underneath. And I set up a jig with my router and run a trench through here, across the top and across the top, and then put some tape around the edge, and then did my sealer, paint, colour, and put shells in on a tapering flash across the edge. And this is sort of Dremel work and stain. So this is a close-up of a trench here. This is Totra burr here, and this is the fiddleback cowrie in the diamond series again with a blue background. That trench there is about 24 to 28 millimeters wide across here, but of course can be wider or can of course be narrower. But one of the best ways to do it is when you put your second coat of blue in there. So you have your sealer coat in the trench, your first coat of blue, let it dry in about 2 hours. Put your second coat of blue in, and then put a decent smattering of blue paint in underneath that diamond, and an extra bit of blue paint where you're going to put it, and just push it into the blue paint, and it will stay there. A little lead sinker put on the top of that piece of timber will hold it exactly where you want it, and the blue paint will hold it down. If you start using glue, invariably you get a little bit showing or oozing out, and you'll get a mess. It's really important on these timber inlay pieces, in my opinion, to be able to touch the wood, as I said, but it's also you have to seal and edge paint these pieces of diamond here in blue, so that you don't want to see the edge, you want to see it from the top. Sometimes I edge paint those in black, and it brings out a really good profile.
How do you deal with shells that have got air inside?
Fill them with resin. Fill them with resin. Yeah, just line them up on the bench there, and get a little pipette, which good. Sorry. And just fill the shells up with a little bit of resin. But still paint and stick them down in. If there's too much air to break the paint, but the resin will hold it. This is a variation, and rather than put all these diamonds all the way around this one, I wanted to, rattle it up a bit and not have that too much more of a repetitive look. So in went a Totra burr diamond, and 3 ebony ones over there, and little bits of Totra burr triangles over the top. it goes to show you that perhaps that pattern there, all the way around, would look quite striking, yet repetitive. So you mix it up and take a few bold steps and chuck something else in the gap, can have a very, very nice effect. The depth of the inlay is about 8 mil most of the time. Yeah, depending on a lot of the type of items that I'm putting in. The shells that you can get in the South Pacifica, if you like, area that we live in, are astounding, the colours. And I bought some to show you. These double colours in here, you put that in on a black background and it jumps at you. It's wonderful. And they are really, really lovely in a range of sizes, and they're cheap. And you know, you can buy them online, you can search them out, and they're wonderful. The colours are already done for you. This is a bigger Diamond Series piece that went to the US. It's 550 in diameter. Bone, fiddleback cowrie, totra burr. $5 a millimetre. So this is totra burr here and here, fiddleback cowrie here and here, and this is bone. Beef bone. Deer antler is lovely, but you couldn't get a piece that was sort of wide enough and big enough. So that's actually beef bone. Beef bone does vary a bit, you've got to just search for the white bit. But you can touch the bone, you can, because it's higher, you know, you can turn down into that, you can touch those timbers, touch the bone. This is a Diamond Series again, with little glints of power in between. See those little chips? Part of the hardest little trick there was, out of your little bowl of power chip, was to find about 25 or 35 consistent pieces. That you don't want power dots. There's no way you make it a power dot because it would look too repetitive, but to get consistent pieces that were similar yet different shape, about the same size and the same amount of glints that they glow to, so you get them, and you can break them with the pliers and you get a bit of size going on. That's the mottled cowrie, and that was a larger platter and had quite a bit of action with the grain. If anyone comes across any fiddleback cowrie, come to me and I'll show you how to use it. It's sought after, but treat it carefully. If you come up with some really nice fiddleback, don't turn a bowl out of it. Save it for inlays or features on the piece that you do. Lids or finials, and make it go further really. Or any burr timber for that matter. Now I did talk about the options of, rather than just the trench around the outside, this is a series of drilled holes. Just there's a standard bowl there, as you can see. There's 3 Forstner bit drilled holes, you know, that drill the clean shaft and drill a very, very clean hole. You know, those of you know what a Forstner drill bit is. Drill a very clean hole. And just get 3 consecutive sizes. And just space them out in opposing directions, opposite each other. There's a shell in there, a piece of power in there, and another little glint of power in there. And it goes through the process of sealing that recess, putting a colour in there, dropping your item in there, turning and polishing it as normal. The options are absolutely huge to take the resin type of inlay more than is there at the moment. There's a couple of router cuts across there. There's my tape. You'd be asking me about the tape. And there's a router cut across there. Zip, take the piece out, another one over there. And that's actually a power circular dot from memory, and that's a piece of abalone shell. So yeah, you could choose anything from the little containers and away you go. It's nice to actually work on quite a few pieces in a run, while you've got your resin mixed, while you've got the glue there, while you've got your shells. Oh! Yeah, that's it.